Well, hello, YouTube. Welcome back to Campaign Terrain. I am your host, as ever, that guy Cross. Welcome to the basement. Tonight, going to be continuing to work on the rear facing windows for the captain's quarters. The ones I started to work on the frames last week, and I got one of them completed. I could install it tonight, probably going to do that. I'm also going to show you how I did it. So that one's not done. So I've only done one of the two. That tape that I put around the outside to keep it together, that's still on them. I could peel that off. I will definitely peel it off before I install them. So let me get to that in just a second. Now, as you know, I like to cover a few housekeeping odds and ends, things I found during the week, that sort of thing. So we're going to cover that and get that out of the way real quick. First thing is I have a bunch of these candy tins. This one is the last one actually has candy in it. These are all empty. There's a whole case of them. They were a promo thing at one point. So now I have a bunch of little metal boxes I can use for stuff if I want. They're all dirty. They have candy resin and stuff like that, but they'll be fine for keeping bits and pieces. It's not going to be like I'm shipping them somewhere. So that's one thing I found. Got a whole, there's about 30 of them in there. Let's sit the one with the actual candy in it off to the side. We'll eat that later. All right. Got to put my actual mic on my neck, but I think you could hear me. So if not, well, I didn't talk about anything important anyway. But again, welcome. Glad to have you. Some other things I found this week. I've got some more tubes I found upstairs. These used to be candy marshmallow lollipop type things. My housemate is a patissier, makes desserts and stuff. And this was one of the sample, actually not one, this is like 3 years of sample ones. And I just kept sticking them in this one little cup I had after I ate the lollipops. So I've got these, got a whole box up here for just tubes. So that'll end up there at some point. I'm not going to stick it in there yet. Okay, let's see, this. Found this kind of thing. This is just a piece of packaging. Keep your eye out for all sorts of stuff. This, if you saw the pictures I posted of the ship windows on the website, on the Discord and a couple other places, I had a background that was this sort of rainbowy color, and that is this card. And this came out of pack of like Bluetooth earpieces or something like that. So this is just the back piece behind where they were inside the box. I just thought, well, that's a cute little thing. I'll use that as a backdrop, and I've already used it once. I'll keep that around, put that with my various other backdrops. Oh, let's see. I think that's about everything new. I've got this little box I carry around. This is the offcuts because I worked on those pictures on those windows upstairs out of the cold because it's kind of chilly in the basement. So it is that time of year. So I've got a leftover piece from that, the piece I cut for the first window, the piece I am going to cut for the second window, random piece of paper, skip that. A piece that's from a fully melted down candle. I'm going to use the little metal circle for something. I don't know. And then just various little wood and plastic offcuts from having made the windows. So I'm going to take those and yeah, we're just going to dump those there. They'll end up in a scrap pile in a minute. I carry this little thing around. I got this at a dollar store. It's just a little like specimen container. It's got a magnet on the back, but it doesn't work very well. To be honest, I'll stick the magnet on something and then the box will fall off and the magnet will still be like on the fridge or whatever. But it's got a little thing so you can see it. I carry this with me because if I'm in a random parking lot and I find little things like random washers or rocks or bits of moss or twigs or something I think could be useful or cool looking, I take those and stick them in there, and it keeps my pockets from getting, or my hands from getting all icky. So yeah, if you're a weird creative type that collects things to build things with, maybe carry little boxes around with you. Why not? Alrighty, let's jump pretty much straight into this. I'm going to switch to the right-hand camera. Y'all know how this works. I'm going to switch to the top. I'm going to talk to you about my Patreons. Then I'm going to while I'm doing that, I'm going to turn on this light to the side so it doesn't blind this camera with the flash. Then once this one's on and I've talked about my Patreons, then we'll switch to the cam and get straight down to the front thing. So for now, let's switch to the top. Thank all these people. Whoop, that's the wrong one. Okay, these are my Patreon patrons. DC, that's Digital Calibrator. Personal friend, comes over and helps with the channel sometimes, things with audio and video and things like that. And in addition to providing financial support, which I cannot thank her enough for. All right, Patrick Walther, he runs a YouTube channel called Hacksaw's Hobby Bunker, so go give that a try. And he's been a long-time supporter of the channel. I really appreciate it. Dungeon Matron, that's Lisa. Now, Lisa's on a YouTube channel called Just Flocking With You, and they are with Kim from Questboard Terrain and Carl from Carl Make Stuff, and they come together every Wednesday afternoon and either just talk about the miniature crafting, or sometimes they have interviewees come on and things like that as well. So give that a shot. That's Just Flocking With You. That's Lisa. That's Dungeon Matron. And we also like to hang out on Dungeon Matron's Discord in addition to mine. So the links to my Discord and Dungeon Matron's Discord are in the down there. Solo Nick has two channels. One is called Solo Nick, and that one is where he talks about crafting and in miniatures. And he also has one called Climbing Moss, which is his Man About Town channel, where he goes and does interesting things and talks about interesting things that are not specifically crafting related. And then there's Mia Geeked. That's Pepper. And Pepper has her own channel called Mia Geeked. So far, only one video, but working on that. Been crazy busy lately, but sometimes she also appears on a channel called Shadows of Arconia, which is a Twitch channel where they game together. So give all those a try, and let me get this light on here real quick. Okay, and then I'll switch over here and get to this. Now, in addition to these names that are up here right now that you're seeing here, I would really, 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 really like to thank LC, who is probably going to be on here tonight. And LC heard me whinging and whining last week about having broken several computer mice, and is sending me a couple. So yeah, you can't see this. I'm giving thumbs up, but from the angle that camera's at, you can't tell that. So let me switch cameras and jump into working on the windows for the ye olde ship. Okay, see, I can give thumbs up. Okay, now the cargo doors that go in through the decks of the ship, multiple decks have cargo doors, look like this. Hold on, if I can grab one. Look like this, and that's made out of what's it called? Cross-stitch mesh, and they come in different sizes and different sturdiness ratings, so to speak. And the that doesn't go that way. It goes. There we go. But these are made out of some fairly large ones. This is what's called the number 7. That means there's 7 of these little spaces per inch. While I was grabbing that piece that I cut those original squares from, I found out that I also had these, which have a much smaller square. I don't know exactly, but I think they're a 12. I think there's 12 per inch. Anyway, all of the little, for want of a better term, fibers, the strands between, and therefore the gaps between them, are all smaller. And you should be able to see that there. Sort of a Moir effect, but you get the idea of what I'm saying here. And so this is what I used for these windows, just because I thought it looked better. It's pure aesthetics, just on the fly. I went, oh, well, I have those, I'll use those. So what I did is I took those and cut them at a big chunk of it, and I cut it at a 45 degree. And the 45 degree angle, actually kind of funky and weird, because it kept wanting to, my eyesight kept wanting to be off by like 1 square across the span. But once I got it to actually 45 degrees and cut that strip out, excuse me, I then cut the strip to fit inside the frame. So that is, the frame is 1 inch across, but the little strip is a little bit less, and it's just enough to fit in here snugly. And the reason it's going to have to be snug is because I created a secondary frame inside here, sandwiched this piece into the piece of the grating into it, and then put another piece of the inside on the inside. And so that holds it very securely in place. There's no actual glue holding that. Well, there is accidentally where I had spillover, but there's no intentionally placed glue on the grate. The grate is just held in by the frame being held in around it. So that is what I am going to do right now with more of this. Meanwhile, let's see what's going on over here. Okay, Callie Lynn is here, and that is it so far, and that is fine. Glad to have you. And anybody else that wanders by, either tonight or over the next, however many days, I'm glad to have you. I'm always glad to have visitors. We're all in this together talking about, miniature stuff. So good stuff, good stuff. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these little strips. This is a lollipop stick. They're smaller than coffee stirrers, and they're pretty flexible. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm actually twisting that. So they're super flexible, but I'm going to glue it down, and it's not going to be at all flexible once it's glued in. You can see that they're pretty ruggedly in there. So I'm going to take this and cut 2 pieces to fit inside the frame longwise. And then I'm going to glue those in. And then once those are in, I'm going to cut 2 pieces to fit shortwise across the other way, and then glue those in. I'm going to take those and place this down and push those in so they're backed against the back of that. Then I'm going to take this piece, cut it to fit in that frame, sit it in on top of that, and then do the same thing over again with the second set. So what I will actually do is find out how long this needs to be and cut 4 of those. And I'll find out how long these need to be and cut 4 of those. And that way I'm ready to just jump into the thing. Again, I'm going to be using the tacky glue. It sets up faster. It's basically a white glue like any other white glue. It's just thicker. With my patented glue holder upper. This doesn't like to come immediately out of the nozzle, so I always keep it upside down with the cap on it. That way there's glue at the nozzle when I want. Otherwise I get frustrated waiting for stuff to drain to where I need it to go. So I'm doing this by eyeball. I'm not specifically measuring that to the micron or anything. And it just needs to fit inside the frame. And then the smaller ones inside the frame, if they don't quite make it all the way to the corner, that's fine because there's plenty of edge area to hold that window in place. So let's grab one and my tiny nippers. That is all I need for this job. And I will take that and kind of estimate. And every time I do this, I get it a little too long and end up having to cut it a second time. And that's fine because it's always better to have too much than too little. Otherwise, it's real hard to add stuff back on. But I think I'm going to get this one pretty close. Okay. And is that going to fit? Let's see. Let's find out. And yes, but barely. So I'm actually going to trim off just the slightest, like 0.5 millimeter off of here. And at something like a straight angle, right angle. Straight angle is a line. Learn math, cross. Oh, that's way more than a millimeter. Okay, let's go there. That should be plenty. And it is. So that is my new stick to gauge against. Always gauge when you can. It's easier than measuring. I'm going to take that, hold the 2 layers together, butt the nippers up against that, and that's my new piece. I don't know if I can get another piece out of this one. Oh, what do you know? Sure can. Just about perfect. Okay, I'm going to sit. Those always work from the same one, so we're going to take that, and I won't even need this stick. We'll put that back. This one, I am then going to again, that will give us our 4th one of the long ones. Phew! I say I'm not going to need another stick, but then I threw the stick all the way across the table. Oh, right. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Drives the algorithm. You know how it works. Thank you so much. Okay, now, once we have this, we know that this needs to fit across here minus 2 thicknesses of this because there'll be 1 on each side. So I am going to take those and hold them in place kind of eyeball that again. And totally lost track of where I was on that. Again, just eyeballing this. I know you can't really see that. Sorry about that. Okay, and that should be more than enough. Like I said, if there's a little bit extra space left at the corners, that's fine. So I'm gonna use that piece as my gauge and cut 4 of these. Well, I've already cut 1 of these. You know what I mean. If I can not throw the board across the room again. Okie dokie. Always measuring from the same one, like I said. It's easy. That way you get relatively equilateral. It's not the right word, but relatively equal lengths. Okay. Last one. That one's a little bit long, so let's make sure that's out of the way. Keep finding full-size sticks that need to go back in my stack. All right. Alrighty, where was I? Nippers can go away, glue can come out. Good Lord, that is on there. Grab that with a pair of pliers. Okie dokies. All right, that is dried in there. That does not bode well. Well, it's not dry. That's good. Part of it is the dried part out. Okay. Now, that's way more than enough that I'm going to need for this entire operation. So we're going to put that to the side, get my sleeve out of the way. Alrighty, I'm going to take the toothy pick and smear that onto the frame. Just on one edge, down. Ugh. That was way too much in one spot. But it won't matter if I spread it too wide, because I'm going to put more on the other side in a minute after because good grammar, after I have placed the mesh part in. Okay, I don't know if you can see that, but I put glue on that one inner edge there. Take my little long board here, and yes, it's little and long, both at the same time. Then, like I said, take that, press that flat, and press it so it's lined up with that back surface. Now the front one's not going to match. It's going to fit in just a little, just because of the sizes of things, and that's fine. We'll work with that in a minute. Okay, a little bit more glue. Now I've placed that part at the top on the same side of the window, the same face of the window. I am putting another line of glue down the inside edge. Okay, grabbing another long one. Put that in there. Again, pressing it flat, pressing that into place. Now the tacky glue should have that set up almost immediately, at least enough to work with. All right, now let's do the same thing, but with some shorties. Take that, run it along that edge, smear it enough to get good coverage. Take one of the little ones, put in that short edge. Same deal. Now you should be able to see I've got that. It's created a ridge, a ledge inside there. Oops, I'm going the wrong direction. There we go. And I keep saying and sorry about that. Once I get this last one in on this side, then I will be able to drop in the plastic. Now I haven't cut the plastic to fit, so let me show you how that works. I have cut it to fit the height, but not the width. So get this tucked in here. Now you should be able to see I've got that all the way around. Now I do have this already correctly sized for the height of the window. Now these are going in this way. They're going in portrait. No, sorry, landscape. So they're going in wider than they are tall. So it's already cut to the height. And now I just need to take something and mark where I'm going to cut that off at. It's going to be right about there. That is barely visible, but that's all I need is barely visible. And it doesn't matter if there's a little bit of ink on the edge or anything like that, because it's going to be covered by that little lip of that, well, the little lip of the little lip. Okay, now I want to take a pair of scissors. You could also do this with a knife, but I find the scissors to be a little bit easier. I want to cut, wow, almost said a bad word. I want to cut, not cut anything, directly along that little line I just drew. This stuff's super easy to cut. It's pretty rugged in and of itself, but the moment you cut into it with a pair of scissors or shears, it's no problem at all cutting this. It might look like it's pretty sturdy, but it's not going to put up against a good pair of scissors. Okay, now that piece, oops, I got the short, nope, that's the wrong one. The piece that fits, I'm going to take that, drop it right in there, and as you can see, it fits against that ledge that I just glued in a minute ago. That's going to go like that. Now, we're going to do the whole thing over again, except this piece is going to be in the way now. It's like it's supposed to be. Not in the way, it's in where it goes. Again, a little bit of glue on the toothpick. I find it easier than trying to get in there with the nozzle of the glue gun. If you're using super glue or something like this on this, that's on you, because that might actually work easier. But I'm going to let this sit, so the white glue is fine on this. I don't like to use normal white glue because I live in a very high humidity area, and it can take forever for stuff to dry. But this tacky glue is pretty forgiving on that front. So, not to be cliche about it, but there's a reason it's America's favorite craft glue, or America's favorite craft glue. Yep, America's favorite craft. It's good stuff. Not sponsored, but I'm willing to entertain offers. That doesn't just go for Aleene's glue. That's for anybody. I'll take sponsorships. I don't care. Oh my God, he's being all money grubbing. Well, yes. Not even going to apologize for that one. I am one of those weirdos that even when I did not consider myself an artist or an artisan, or however you want to word that, I still thought that people should be willing to pay for art. So he's all money grubbing. Yep. Absolutely. Not even a question. Okay, so that's what it's going to look like. Now I still got to do the two short ends, but that's in there. I'll let that dry like overnight. I'm not sticking this one in tonight, but I will put one of them in a moment. And then I will move on to how I'm going. I have no idea how that's a purely, I'm figuring it out as I go. I'm looking into putting in that third mast. I wasn't going to do that tonight, but somebody specifically messaged me under last week's video and said, yeah, I'd like to see the third mast. I'm like, well, okay, I'll try to get to that. So that is my plan. If I would shut up and stop babbling about, I'm gluing a thing, I'm gluing a thing, I'm gluing a thing, and just tell you once and glue them 4 times, then I might get a chance to actually get to that. So, to be fair, I am moving along at a pretty good clip. Those of you who missed it, that's a shipping joke. Clip, because ships clip, that's what it's called when ships are at speed, they're clipping. Why ships are called clipper ships. Okay, I'm going to stop. All right, now, again, that's going to sit in a little bit on one side, but flush on the other. So I'm going to sit it flush side down and make sure to re-push all of these into place. Now I'm just going to sit that off to the side to dry. I'm going to set the glue out of the way before I end up gluing myself to something. This is a piece of scrap. I'm going to put that, where did I put the others? There they are. Okay, now, let me get everything else out of the way. This is the deck it's going on. I'm hoping to not drop this. I've dropped these doors like 5 times. All right, so I'm going to take this deck from above and this deck that sits below and put both of them off to the side. So I'm only working with the one. I have decided I want an inch in here, an inch space between them. So instead of sitting butted up against each other or way out to the side, I'm going to have those with an inch between each of them, sitting like that. Now, to do that, I'm going to measure across this back distance, for which I need something. Here we go. That is 8 1/4. I swear the ship is a different size every time I measure anything. Okay, so I need this little red pin here, and I'm going to, it's at 8 1/4, so I need 4 1/8. That's my middle mark. That's a little bit heavy of a ruler. And take this one, which weighs less, and we covered the fact before that these are in tenths of an inch instead of whatever. I'm eyeballing all this anyway. So when I put in the portholes, they are a 1/2 inch down from the top. I actually want these to be essentially balanced at that same height. So these need to only have a 1/4 of an inch gap back here. So what I am going to do is take one of these and mark at the top and put that around and mark at the top within the space where those windows are going to be. I am then going to measure that center piece and a 1/2 inch to either side. So I am going to center mark, not center piece. I am going to, let's go ahead and mark a mark at the bottom as well. So that's going to be 8 1/4, 4 1/8. Now I'm marking with tenths instead of eighths, but we'll get close. That's a 1/4, so that's 8 right there. Okay, so that's my center line. So I want to come a 1/2 inch off of the center line each way. It's going to look like I'm drawing big, deep marks, but I'm not digging into the foam. I don't want to make marks that don't end up looking like the planks when I'm done. So I'm coming a 1/2 inch in here and here and here and here. And I am taking those and marking those lines to where the edge of the windows shall be. Okay, so that is where my windows are going to go. They are going to butt against this line and sit right up against that line. Now, just to get a good measurement, I'm going to go ahead and, like I said, these the tape was just there to keep the outer frame in place while that glue was drying. And now, I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but between the tape at the top and the bottom and several times around, that's almost a full millimeter of tape. Or for those of you who are paying attention in freedom units, that's 1/64 of an inch, 32nd of an inch, a significant amount. That's what we're saying. Now I got to find the edge of the tape. There it is. And peel that off. And for the record, no, I do not save little strips of masking tape. That's going straight in the trash. I recycle a lot of stuff, but masking tape is not one of them. Let go. Here it goes. Okay. A little bit of sticky from when it was originally glued. Okay, so that is my window. It doesn't matter if I'm put it this way or this way. It doesn't really matter on that. I'm going to take that and I kind of want the flush side on the inside. I just think the slightly inset side will look better on the outside where it's more visible when there's that other deck covering it and that window. It's purely aesthetics. I'm just deciding it on the fly. Okay, make sure I don't have any tape still in there. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that on my chosen side of the flat side going in toward the ship. I'm going to line it up with all of my little lines, and I am just going to press it into the foam. For those who have missed that in previous weeks, this is made out of the interior of foam core after the paper's peeled off. So I am pressing the wood much harder than foam into the foam, and it leaves me that little, ooh, you can't see that, rectangular dent right here. And then I'm going to take what I hope is a sharp knife with a pointy point, and, oh, you can't see that, but the pointies. And then right on the outside of where that frame dent is, I'm going to go ahead and cut the frame. Ooh, must be a busy night. Nobody's here but Kelly Lynn. I don't have any other viewers. I had one for a split second, then they ran away. Oh well. They'll catch it after the fact. Alrighty. Little bits of foam on my blade there. Be careful if you're ever wiping off your blade like that. Now, this is, ooh, delicate work. That's all right. I'm glad I'm good with my hands. So that is going to be either super easy to cut across because it's just foam, or kind of difficult to cut across because the layers were glued together with hot glue. And so sometimes that can cause the blade to snag a little. So good luck. That's all I can tell you. Don't cut toward yourself like I'm doing. That would be dumb. But I am going really slow. I'm not putting very much forward pressure on this. It is not going to cut me. And after cutting my thumb, what was that, 6 weeks ago now, 5 weeks ago now, I am being super careful not to cut myself. Okay, I don't see the bottom of that frame, so let's redo that. I'm going to press in at the bottom particularly just to make sure that I've left a good impression. Coincidentally, that's lining up right with one of the plank lines I already have, so that's going to make this one super easy to keep an eye on. And leaving a little extra is better because that way the wall will sort of squeeze the window, but you don't want enough that it's going to buckle the wall once you get the window in. But if you cut too much, then you got to worry about the window falling out while the glue's setting up, that sort of thing. So a tiny bit too small of a cut is fine. A tiny bit too big of a cut is usable. If you have just cut nowhere near the right size and you have to recut it again because you didn't cut nearly enough, that's also fine. But if you cut too much, well, then you're having to rebuild the back wall, and that's no fun. I think I'm done cutting, but the thing doesn't want to let go. Oh, there it is. There's a part that's not cut all the way through. There it goes. Okay. Now, I tend to keep all my foam for rubble piles and things like that, so we'll toss that in the pile. Now this should fit right in here. I should have done that higher. I can tell now because that puts it very close to that deck, but too late now. I'm not fixing that. And it'll look fine anyway. These are supposed to be big picture windows like behind the desk or something, so that's fine. Okay, so that's going to go in there. I'm going to push. Whoop, see, I keep losing these things all the time. Come on now. So I'm going to take that and push that into just where it matches this inner wall, and that's where I'm going to glue it. So I will take that out. I will take some tacky glue. I don't like white glue very much, but it is easier for this because otherwise I'm going to end up with all sorts of hot glue squidge out. I do have my hot glue gun already heated up, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and do this like I was thinking. So I'm going to put white glue along the bottom edge. And it wouldn't really take much, but sometimes the foam core foam can take, which is a type of XPS foam, can be a little thirsty and suck up the glue. So I'm going to apply a decent amount, wipe it with my finger, and anything that's too much will just stay on my finger, and I can wipe it off with a wet towel here in a moment. Actually got enough there to do this third side. I think. Not really. Let's get a little more on there. Okay, that should be plenty. And then on this one, we're going to do it on the window instead of the frame, because I'm not trying to stick glue on something upside down. It's pretty sticky stuff and would probably hold, but that way madness lies. Just not doing that. Okay. I am going to, before I go sticking that in there, I'm going to wipe that extra glue off my hand so I don't get it on stuff. Okay, so now I've got the flush side that I want inside, facing inside. I've got glue on top, 3 sides around, and just gonna wedge that in there. It's okay if I get a little bit of glue squidge out. That means that I got enough in the gap that I know it's gonna grab and hold. Push that into place all the way around, and just like that, good to go. So I don't know if you can see that, but from inside, it'll be clearly visible as a window. So that's the plan. I think that other window has probably actually already set up enough that I'm gonna go ahead and cram that on in there. So let's get the tape off first. So I've got an accurately sized little rectangle. Find the end of the tape. Here it is. Now this one has more tape and it's stickier than the other side. That's bizarre and weird. That's all right. Oh, just tape myself to my workpiece. That's fine. All right. Okie dokie. I'll take that, toss that out. Got the frame to work with. Same deal. Take and press it against the both of the upright line where I'm using it and the crosswise line. Make sure that I've got that in the right spot. And just press that into the foam. Now, on that other one, like I said, I had hadn't pressed enough on the bottom, so let's go ahead and do that this time. Make sure we get both of the ends so I get a nice, good rectangle to cut. And heave 2. Now, I should be done with the glue in just a minute, but I don't want it to drain into the side, so again, leaving it upright. Sharp knife. Be careful along that line. Keep your fingies out the way. Okay. It doesn't matter if you go up or down. It doesn't matter if you go left or right, whichever works for you, as long as you keep the fingers out of your way and you do not overcut the space so that it doesn't get too loose for the window frame. Okay. Like I said, you want to be careful and make a bunch of tiny little cuts on this. If you get crazy with it, you can, 1, cut yourself, or 2, the cut can get away from you and the blade will go places you don't want, whether that's into you or just taking off too much material. Okay. Done with the knife. Make sure that fits. Yep, good to go. Same deal. pull that out, make sure that we have the flush side in so that the two match. It doesn't matter which way you do it as long as they match. Okay. Glue down the side. Across the bottom. Oops, not on the outside of the boat. Okay, down the other side. That's probably too much glue, but that's all right. I'll just smear it onto the top of the window. So we will take that there. No, it's not too much. It's good. You got the right amount. Okay. All right. A little squidge across the top here. Make sure I'm lined up the right way so it's easy to put in. Okay, set that there. Cap on. We are done with the white glue for tonight. Take that. Smear that across as well. Okay. Set that there. Wipe off the fingies. Well, fingy. I only have glue on the one fingy. All right. Now we're going to take that. Wedge that into that window. And push only until that back face of the window matches the back face of the wall. Interior face, you know what I mean. And with my two little windows installed, I've just created the world's largest pair of sunglasses. You just wedge it on your face. No. But as you can see, now probably can't see. Maybe you can see my fingers back there, but you can see through the windows. So there you go. That's it. That's the captain's windows done all the way around. I've got the portholes done with the frames. Did that last week before. Got the things here. Now, I want a third mast. I got to figure out where to put the third mast. So I am thinking that the best place to put that is going to be right against this control box, because up here on the other deck, there's going to be a conning wheel, a steering wheel here. So if I put that mast here, it's going to be just in front of this. And the thing holding the mast here will be a spindle. Put them off to the side. The other masts have spindles that go through the deck, through this hole, through the deck, and into these holes for the interior part of the masts. I'm going to do the same thing. Now, unfortunately, I'm out of this size. So I'm using the next largest dowel I currently have, and I'm going to put that essentially against this frame here. So I will take that. Where did I put the next one? This one. And I'll take my next size dowel that I have, and you can go out of the way. And that's going to go, did I say on the front of that? Yes, on the front of that. That's going to go hitting stuff above my head, so I got to be careful here. That's going to go right there. I already know it's the same height here as any of these, so I'm actually going to use one of these corners to measure it. Oh, sorry, kid, that was off camera. One of these corners to measure it. And that in just like that. And give a little mark. And that is where I'm going to cut that. I am going to need two at this height, but I'm going to do them one at a time. One of them's for this deck and one of them's for the deck that's below. I think I may need a third one, but I'd have to check that. So give me a second. We are going to take that and put it in my little braced in place miter box and cut that. Now you can see my little red mark on there. That red mark is sitting just higher than that wall because of the width of the pin tip. So I actually want to take off that red line. So I want to line that up there and make a notch right where I want. Make sure that that's in the right spot, and it is. I don't know if you can see that, but I have now nicked where that red line is. And I am now going to take that off. This is actually a fairly sturdy dowel. There it goes. Okie dokie. Now, just because I don't like these little sharp edges hanging out here, I'm going to grab one of my little sticks. This is just a paint stirrer with some sandpaper. Well, this sandpaper happens to have a sticky back on it, but you could just glue it down or tape it down. And I'm just taking off that edge just enough that I'm not going to splinter myself. Okay. Take that, set it off the side. Where'd I put the saw? There we go. And take that, and that needs to be glued right in the center. But my other masts in their interior parts have a small flange I have glued around it for sturdiness. I'm going to emulate that on this one, just for consistency's sake. So I already have a piece of foam. I knew I was going to be getting to that, so I've got a piece of foam there, and I'm going to glue that around the base of that. I'm going to use hot glue for that because it's faster and quicker and makes it stick and all that. So what I need to do is take a piece that I know is going to go around that. Basic math with pi, 3.141596. But I'm not measuring it. I'm just guessing. So I know that this is 3/8 dowel, I think. So blah, 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 this much in the other and blah, blah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take about 1.5 inches off of here, maybe 2 inches, and just cut that off because I'm not worried about wasting a little. Plus, I can always put it into my rubble bin. I've already peeled the paper off one side, but I'm going to peel it off the other side. Wow, my scissors tore that up really bad. Take that little piece. That's too small to even bother with the rubber pile. Okay, take the piece of paper, peel that off. Now, this, if I just wrap it around there, is going to crack, and then I'm going to have unsightly little damage spots. So I'm going to take it and very carefully sort of squeeze the foam so it caves in the bubbles inside the foam a little. And as I'm doing it, I'm bending it a little in one direction so that that'll be the interior of the circle. Oh, Elsie came and went. I'm sorry. Oh, well. Just if you watch this later, Elsie, this is the second time. Thanks again for sending me the mice. I'll keep a lookout in the post. Thank you. Okay. I didn't even see him come and go. I was so concentrating on my stuff here. I hope his night goes well. Seems to be having a rough one, so I hope that gets better. Okay, now that I've got it started where I'm not worried it's going to break, at least not if I'm careful, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a knife and cut off at a slight angle the end, and you will see why in a moment. That piece can go in my rubble. Okay, dokie. I want to take the hot glue and put a little bit on that end where I cut it off at the taper, on the inside, the pointy end of the taper, not the rounded end of the taper, just enough to get it started. Now, again, I've mentioned this on other episodes. I like to keep mine on the low temp, not the high temp of the hot glue. And if you keep it on the high temp, you can actually melt the foam, and that's no fun. Then you got to start over and redo stuff. So I'm going to take that and start it just like that with the hot glue, and some in the way. Let me get that out of the way. Now, you can see, essentially, I've created a tapered edge right there, and that's where I'm starting from. Now, I'm going to take that and just keep gluing around as I bring this around. Now, you can see the bending it, the pre-bending it has worked for me because I can now bend it around here if I'm careful. And when you come around, that's going to line up and cross that part that I cut at an angle and make a nice little fit. Now, that's just to get it started. Now, to be honest, on this one, I'm then going to take apart and take a piece of it and cut it off flat so that it fits flush against this piece. But I didn't necessarily know where that was going to end up or any of that. So, and plus, if I was making one freestanding without being leaned against something, I wouldn't have that liberty to do that. So I've been unrolling that, and Put a little glue under there. Ooh, that's too much. That's going to squidge out everywhere, but that's okay. And then just keep rolling that in. Take any of that squidge and just get rid of that. It's going to leave some little stringers sometimes, but nothing major, nothing major. So for whatever reason, I'll wake up some days and I will have like a song or at least a snippet of a song stuck in my head, and it can be something I haven't heard in forever. And it will just be stuck in my head all day. For anybody who's paying attention, today's is the line from the one song, "Ain't nobody getting fat except Mama Cass." And if you know that song, it's time to take your ibuprofen, because you are an old. Wipe off the squidge. Okay, now this part I'm not even going to finish gluing, because that'll be the part I take off and cut flat. So we'll just let that cool for a minute, get this last little squidge out off here, just so I don't have to worry about cutting it off in a minute. Easy to remove if you get it like between when it's actually gooey from the hot glue gun before it actually fully sets up and gets rigid. So that's about ready to go. Now I need a bit of a longer blade, so let's just grab, whoop, there's part of a knife. Let's grab all of the knife. Okay, longer blade. I'm going to take that. Just find any spot over there where I can get a nice, good, solid slice across. And then a couple long, low, slow passes, get through the glue. Again, I like to put things in my rubble pile. And that one's good to go. Now, this is going to need that hole glued, drilled in the top. And I do not have the appropriate drill bit for that readily available. But I am going to start the pilot hole for it before I go sticking it into the ship and having to worry about holding the whole ship while I drill a pilot hole. Now this little strip that I was using, I'm going to keep, because I got another mast that's going into the deck below that. Not another mast, another section of this mast. Alrighty, let's come over here. Alrighty, where is my... I had my Dremel. No, not my Dremel, my other one. What did I do with it? Oh, I covered it in the mesh. Let's put the mesh there for now. And I know I'm going to bump that in a minute and knock it on the floor, but whatever. Whatever. All good. This is fine. This is fine. Okie dokie. Now, I need to mark, and I don't mean just put a mark. I need to make a little dent in that. So I think I'm going to use a little screw and mark about where the center point is, and just leave a little divot for that. Now I'm going to use my drill here, and I don't know if it was too loud the last time I used it. So for now, I am actually going to hit mute for just a second and drill a hole, and then do it that way. Now, this thing has a button. Hold that there, and it stops the shaft from spinning so that you can loosen and tighten things. I'm going to take my largest drill bit here and put that in there. And I want that to have pretty good depth of what's going in there, because there's going to be a section of dowel that fits down in the hole eventually. So I want it to go down in there a way. So I don't want to like cram that to where there's like no drill sticking out. So I want to have that pretty good piece. And then tighten that. I'm holding that so that the shaft won't spin. Snugging that. Now I'm going to mute y'all for a second. Save y'all's ears. Okay, let's make sure that this is going to mute if I do this thing here. That did not fix it. What am I trying to do? Oh, there it is. You know, for as difficult as it was to cut through that dowel, it had no problem drilling. Wood grain is strange like that. So that's done. That drill bit's probably a little warm. Now I'm going to need it for the other deck, but I have a tendency to snap these off. So I'm going to go ahead and put the whole thing back up and off to the side while I cut the other one. Make sure that's not so hot that I'm going to burn myself. I get pretty warm drilling like that, especially as quickly as I was drilling into that. But like I said, it had problems cutting it, but the drilling went super slick. Like, whoop, done. I'm not sure that "foop" is a word, but that's what it did. It went "foop," done. Okay. There. Okay. Now that hole, it's a little off center, not going to matter. That hole will eventually be drilled out with, that's just a pilot to make sure that it gets started and stays going, with that bit there to fit just like it does here. Oop, not this one, slightly bigger one. I don't know which one. Yes, probably that one. Yep, that one. So that I can fit the other shaft in it. Now the other shaft is going to, the other mast is going to go right here. So, like I said, I did that just so I could use this as a brace. That puts it about here. I could have put it here and used this piece to support it, but didn't. I don't remember why I didn't. Oh, this is the deck below. On this deck, it's going in. If I put it all the way there, it's just a matter of choice, and I just chose to put it further back. I don't know why exactly. I don't know why. I only even decided to add a third mast last week, so I'm making this up as I go along. Like I said, it's a fantasy world. This ship's fine. It's fine. It's all fine. So I'll keep that bit out where I can get to it. And for right now, set this off to the side. And we will take this and actually, I haven't done anything permanent to the decks yet. Let me think about that for a second. Let's look at the one below. What I've done so far is just make the mast piece. I could attach it either here or here. Since I know these are 3 inches apart, or pretty damn sure. Yep, those are 3 inches apart, which makes these 3 inches apart on center, and these are already 4.5 inch on center. And if I go 4.5 inch on center here, that puts it out in the middle of the air by itself. So the question is, am I going to put this mast slightly closer, slightly further back? Because those are my real options, because I don't want this just sitting in the middle of the space by itself. Executive decision time. Yep, this is going to be a more sturdy piece to attach to than this, though attaching the mast to this would help make that more rigid. But if I really, really had to, I can always come in and make a hole right between these boards and slide a piece of toothpick or something in here to make that more rigid. Yep, I'm going to go here against this mechanical housing. All right, so I need glue on the bottom of this and all along this edge, and I'm going to take that and put that in there. But you didn't finish drilling that hole. Yeah, I'll get to that later. I at least have the pilot hole already. So that does need to be on, that's only going to need a pilot hole on the top one. So that needs to be the one in here. So I'm going to put that right there. And for some reason, it is taller than that pole, so that piece. As y'all remember, I had to cut a box there to make that fit. So let's see if that will still fit. If not, I will have to either trim this down or cut a little notch here for this. Either one's fine. I can already tell that's going to be an issue, so because that fits on there just fine. But yeah, that's wonky. So I am going to go ahead and take that tiny little bit off the top of this pole. Because the one on the deck below it is not going to need the hole because it's not going to have a mast attached through the deck to it. So this one has to be the one on the top, and it's just a bit too long. So let me get the saw. That's not going to work in my miter box because I've attached this flange on here, and that's not going to fit in there. So I'm just going to have to freehand this pretty much. I'm taking off about 1.5 millimeters. That's a 1/16 of an inch for all of us on this side of the pond. The trick, of course, is getting this to be level. Well, it's all right if that snaps. That's the part I'm throwing away, but I'll put that in my little wood rubble pile over there. And, normally, I would rotate the stock to maintain a good cutting edge, but I can't because I put the flange on there already. So, and it wouldn't be that much of a deal to take the flange off and reattach a new one, but what are you going to do? Almost through it now. I say I'm almost through it now. There it goes. Little piece of rubble from my wood rubble pile. Again, that's giving me a rough edge. You're gonna have to go sand that. Don't have to, but choosing to. Now, since I drilled that hole way down in there, that's already plenty good to go. So now that's gonna go in there. And then I will pretty much be done for the night. It's already after 8 o'clock. I don't like to go past 1.5 hours. Don't want to keep y'all waiting. So take this piece that will eventually be my mast and put that back out of my way. Oh no! Knocking foam around. What are you gonna do? Okay. Saw can go away. Scissors go away. Okay. Hot glue for this one. And yep, just gonna eyeball that one. So a little bit of hot glue on the bottom. Want to make sure it's out near the edges so I get good adhesion there. A little bit in the middle. And then a stripe right up that side that's going. I'm not sure how you have a side of a cylinder since it's round, but you get what I'm saying. Now we'll take that and push that right in there where I want it. Hold that in there for just a second. Up to about 10 or 20. And just like that, we are installed. We are installed. Now, that's still going to be a little wiggly till that glue sets up, but by the time I get around to taking this drill bit and my other drill and using that pilot hole and drilling this out, and to be honest, I could probably do this by hand if I was really patient. I am not really patient. But as you can see, that's going to go right in that pilot hole. I'll drill that out really carefully. Then the way those fit in, let me show you. Now that I've got a second, I can go grab those other masts. Or at least one of those other masts, but why not keep them together? The way those work is I'm still going to need to cut a notch here at the front just a little bit, so I'll get that in a second. But the way these work is that goes through that hole like that and sits in one of these holes. So take that out. Make sure that's on. There it goes. And then these two sit like that. And the third one is going to do the same thing here, but like that. So that's what it's going to end up looking like. Wow, that's not in camera at all. But now you see. So this is where I'm adding the third mast. Now, just for continuity's sake, that goes down through here. And then I'm going to have it go down through here. And since this deck does not have a mechanical section, because my rudder is going to sit here and basically turn like that. There's no mechanical section down below it. I can have a mast that just sits in the center here, but in order to do that, I would have to put an extra brace. And I don't know if I'm going to do that. I may just have it stop at this deck. I don't know yet. I'll think about that. But for now, that's it. I need to cut that notch here for this mast here, and then I am done for the evening. Give me a second to put some other things up and out of the way. Leave this deck with that. Take this piece, put it to the side. Take this piece and these pieces and put them way to the side. The biggest problem with this ship, since it's like 17 pieces by now, is keeping everything organized and knowing which things go where. I've got to literally keep it ship shape. But Mast tried to roll away there. Okay, put that up out of the way up there. Okay. Now, where was I? Cutting a notch. Now, I already know that this line here comes straight across here. So I only need a notch about 40% of the width of this mast here. So what I am going to do is eyeball that. I'm going to give it plenty. I'm just going to come out a ways. That'll be fine. Then I'm going to take that, and rather than try to cut just around the mast, since it doesn't need to brace on that, because these lips here already hold it in place, I'm just going to take that and sort of draw a little triangle, and that is the part I am going to cut out. Okay. Come on. Okay. It has let go from the layer below it pretty much. I just haven't gotten all the way through it on the cutting. Okay, there's that half, and that half. Okay, now that should sit flat there, which it does. So that's nice and secure. And I have broken off the little steering shaft thing, and I told y'all 2 weeks ago that I was going to end up doing that at some point. And there it is. There's the first one. That doesn't mean it's the only one. So already got the hot glue gun ready to go. So we're just going to give that the quickie repair. Mush that back into place. Oh, didn't even get any squished out glue. That's nice. That's good to go. So there we go. I have started the third mast, and I have installed the captain's windows. So not a bad night, really. I'm going to put a couple of knives away so they don't harm anybody. Put my clippers away. Well, and then I'm going to switch to the front camera and tell y'all good night. I got to turn off this light. Then I'm going to switch to the front, and then I'll ring off. Wish y'all a happy and good one. All right, let's turn that off real quick. Okie dokie. Screw that I used as a marker back on my little magnet over here. All righty. Okie dokie. So that's it. Not a bad night. Finished building the one window, installed both windows, figured out where I was going to put the mast, figured out how I was going to make the mast, made the mast, the first section, drilled that pilot hole, figured out placement, placed it, and cut that little notch that I needed to do to make it work so this fits right. That's a good night. That's not bad for an hour and a half. Thanks for coming along. It's been kind of a quick ride. Kapow! Hey, LC's back. This is the third time I'm telling you thank you for the mice. So I just wanted to make sure that since you're here, you actually heard me. Thank you for the mice. I'm looking forward to when they get here. I know they're not here yet. That's fine. All fine. All fine. Okay, so been kind of a good night. So I'm sorry that you're having troubles on your end, LC. But yeah, that's what I do here. I build lots of little miniature stuff. I just hang out and chat with people about tiny things. I hope to inspire anybody who's vaguely interested in anything little, whether it's book nooks or fairy homes or doll houses or gaming terrain or other kind of gaming terrain or anything little. I'm into little cutesy stuff. Let's all play with our little plastic army men or whatever. Yeah, that's it. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Please do that. This is Campaign Terrain. I'm your host, as ever, That Guy Cross. Welcome in the basement. From now on, I'm still going to be going forward doing Sunday nights. Soon, I don't think as soon as the 1st, but soon I will be at 5 p.m. instead of 7 p.m. That's going to interfere with some people's schedules, but I've got stuff going on Saturdays as well because I was going to switch to Saturday and now I'm not. Anyway, you're welcome anytime I'm here. Sometimes during the week, just for fun, I'll be down here crafting and be live on my Discord. So make sure to go to my Discord. Yeah, that's it. We're all in this together. Know that I love you. And until next time, I wish you luck in your campaign, whether it's in real life or on the table. And I so much thank you for coming. And for LC, thank you for coming twice. So thank you. And I will catch all of you a week from tonight. Thanks so much. Have a great one.